For those that may be joining us for the very first time, we'll be covering different aspects of health, but primarily on how to stay warm in the winter, how to not over-budget your wallet and having to make a trip down south as a snowbird and spend all that money, but save your money up here and staying warm. We'd like to welcome our live audience that is here. This is, once again, part 8 of Health and Healing. And I first want to also announce that the information presented does not constitute medical advice. Please consult your doctor for any health concerns. I'm not a physician. I don't play a physician. I'm giving the recommendations. I'll be reading things, some Bible texts, some texts from a book entitled Ministry of Healing, also some health journals and up-to-date news articles. That's what I will be covering here. For those that haven't been part of this presentation at all, you're just coming in for the very first time, this is more of a, if you want to say, an alternative approach to health, a natural approach to health. I will be covering things here that may seem controversial. If you're up for it, I am up to give it. By the way, the purpose of this series is to know how to limit surgeries. Is that okay that I said that? Limit surgeries, right? Also here to know how to limit the use of medications. I know there's some needful things out here, but what we're trying to do is trying to limit some of those things here, and also to limit hospital and unnecessary doctor's visit. Now, for me personally, this is a 22-year natural health journey for my life. For my family, we've been a lot more inclined to do a lot of natural things to keep our family healthy. I am married, and I have a 6-year-old son that we have been encouraging him to do more healthful, practical things on a regular basis. I'm going to throw up here this acronym here entitled New Start. Nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. We'll be covering here a little bit on sunshine, on nutrition, trust in God, and rest for this presentation. We do a few of these things just about every night, but I want people to understand that these 8 laws of health can be and should be applied for optimum health. The Bible says in 3 John verse 2, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." This is a Bible text. God is not just interested in our eternal destiny, which is the most important thing, but He's also interested in, for us, having a good and healthful life, abundant life here on this earth. He wants His children healthy. And so some of the things that we'll cover here are natural things that we can to improve our health and also treat some things in a very natural way. For the home audience, many of you have probably seen this National Geographic cover, The Secrets of Living Longer. This is from National Geographic 2005, and it surveys 3 groups of people that have the longest life expectancy. And those 3 groups in the world are the Sardinians in Italy, the Okinawans in Japan, and the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, United States, Loma Linda, California. Now, Dan Buettner, who wrote this article in National Geographic, noticed a few things, especially about those in Loma Linda, California. He says, in Loma Linda, California, researchers studied a group of Seventh-day Adventists who rank among America's longevity all-stars. From 1976 to 1988, the National Institutes of Health funded a study of 34,000 California Adventists to see whether their health-oriented lifestyle affected their life expectancy. The Adventist habit of consuming beans, soy milk, tomatoes, fruits, whole wheat bread, nuts, water, and avoiding unclean meat reduced the risk of heart disease and cancer. In the end, the study reached the stunning conclusion the average Adventist lived 4 to 10 years longer than the average Californian, which means we need to save up for retirement that extra 4 to 10 years more. So in case you're wondering, you need to make sure you have extra money. Is that correct? Is that okay that I said that, right? If we're living that much longer, right? It's pretty cool. Loma Linda's Blue Zones. Another reason why Adventists live so long is because they take a weekly break from the rigors of daily life. We observe, the Seventh-day Adventists observe the 7th-day Sabbath from Friday evening to Saturday evening. We avoid the things that God has told us not to. It provides a time to focus on family, on God, camaraderie, and nature. Adventist claims this relieves their stress, strengthens social networks, and provides consistent exercise. You can go to bluezones.com to study these people that have longer expectancy and what they actually do to have that longer expectancy. Blue zones are regions, for those that don't know, are regions of the world thought to have a higher than usual number of people live much longer than the average, in case you wondered what a blue zone was. So what does science say about rest? Some want to separate the Bible from what science says, but what you will see is that science always corresponds to the Bible. Bible always corresponds to true science. Here's what it says. This is from Kevin Trudeau. I don't believe he's related to the Prime Minister of Canada. I don't believe he is. But anyway, what does science say about rest? Well, rest from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Each week, the moon cycles are in position to promote healing and rejuvenation in the body. Resting during this time period promotes optimal rejuvenation for your cells. This is from the book, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know. So what does science say? Well, according to Vibrant Life magazines, it seems that all life moves in a 7-day rhythm. A growing number of scientists have embraced an entirely new field of study known as chronobiology. That examines repeated phenomena in organisms. These cycles are known as biological rhythms. Franz Halberg is widely considered the father of chronobiology. He insists that we humans don't just experience circadian rhythms of approximately 24 hours, we also operate under circaseptan or weekly rhythms as well. Meaning, you guys ever heard the term circadian rhythm, our nightly 24-hour cycle? Well, our bodies also have a 7-day cycle. 6-day work, 7th-day rest cycle. That's how we are hardwired by science. These circaseptan, or about weekly rhythms, are one of the major surprises churned up by modern chronobiology. Years ago, few scientists would have expected that 7-day biological cycles would prove to be so widespread and so long established in the living world. They are of very ancient origin, appearing in primitive one-celled organisms, and are thought to be present even in bacteria, the simplest form of life now existing. For those that are part of this community of faith, you understand the blessing of having this rest. For those that have been living life long enough, you are grateful for this rest. I didn't know anything about this. I did not grow up in this community of faith, but understanding this and applying this to my life, I have heard not just myself, others who have understood the Sabbath principles say that when they go to work on Monday morning, they are more rested when they take Friday evening to Saturday evening off and use Sunday to do all their chores and work-related, house-related things around the house. Every single person has always said that. I am always refreshed on Monday when I learned about the Sabbath and began to observe it. I've always heard that. I was not born and bred in this community of faith. All right, last time when we met, we covered sunlight. Well, I just wanted to share a few things with you about sunlight and skin types. I'm going to go ahead and spend a few moments reading from the research here about the different skin types. It says here, the most sensitive skin belongs to people of Celtic extraction, with red hair and blue or green eyes, or dark hair with green eyes. Typically, their skin hardly tans at all and burns very easily. Is that anybody here? Right? Celtic origin? Right? If you're very fair skin, you burn very easily. You don't have to be out in the sun too long. Well, with careful exposure, they can increase their tolerance to sunlight. That is, little by little. Someone with this type of skin who is unused to direct sunlight will burn after 20 minutes of British midsummer sunshine. Sun and skin type number 2. This is a very common skin type in people of Northern European ancestry. Type 2s have pale skin, blonde or red hair, blue or hazel eyes, and may also have freckles. They tend to tan slowly and with difficulty, as they burn easily. Someone with this type of skin who is unused to direct sunlight will burn after 30 minutes of midsummer sunshine in the UK. Bottom line here, the fairer your skin is, the more gradual you need to be in the sun to develop a tan to eventually protect yourself as the summer progresses. In other words, the darker you are, the more adaptive you are to sun in the immediate. I still burn, since I am olive skin, early in the season. I have to take time to build up a tolerance to the sun. People from China, Japan, or the Mediterranean Sea tan much more easily. but they can also burn. Their skin color ranges from olive to brown, but they usually have dark hair and eyes. Their skin may become pale if they stay out of the sun for long periods. Someone with this type of skin who is unused to sunlight will burn after 50 minutes of direct midsummer sunshine in the UK. The majority of white people have fair skin and are blonde or brunette. Their skin will tan given time, but will also burn if the process is rushed. Eye color is a good indicator of sensitivity. Pale skinned, dark-eyed people tend to tan more readily than those with blue, gray, or green eyes. Someone with this type of skin who is unused to direct sunlight will burn after 30 minutes of midsummer sunshine. Which one are you? I can tell which you are, even in the winter. You guys tan really good. You guys spend a lot of time outdoors. That's good. It's healthy. Sun is good for you. Sunlight and skin type. People from India, South America, and Arabia, my wife and I are Middle Eastern. We're considered olive skin. We are able to, we rarely burn. It takes time for us. Now I burn a little bit more since I'm not in the sun all the time. I'm in the Midwest. They have dark skin and hair and brown eyes, brown or black eyes. However, someone with this type of skin who is unused to sunlight will burn after about 70 minutes. Type number 6, most people with brown to black Afro-Caribbean skin and hair can spend long periods in the sun with little risk of burning. In other words, the closer you live to the equator, the more of a base you have for a tan, the more you can tolerate the sun. What we covered in presentation number 7 is that the sun is actually very, very therapeutic for you. You just have to know how to adjust yourself based on your skin color, skin type, so that you don't burn on the first exposure of sun. Again, covering sunshine, we're going to move to nutrition. This slide that I'm going to show about nutrition talks about whole food nutrition. We mentioned a few supplements here, whole food supplements, and we're going to go and uncover some of the philosophies behind whole food nutrition. Dr. Royal Lee, who is the founder of the brand Standard Process, who was a physician, dentist actually, quoted these words. He says, whole food nutrition begins with sun, water, and fertile soil. Would you agree with that statement? Even gardening, right? Whole food nutrition begins with sun, water, and fertile soil. If you want things to grow, these are the very basic building blocks of biology, of gardening. If the minerals are not in the soil, the plant's not going to get it. And if the plant's not going to get it, and we eat the plant, it means we don't get it. He continues on. There's a battle going on between those who are trying to promote better nutrition and the food manufacturers who insist on making products worse so that they can be sold for less. Does that make sense? Food manufacturers who insist on making products worse so that they can be sold for less. Some more quotations by Dr. Roy Lee. This guy was a genius. One of the biggest tragedies of human civilization is the precedence of chemical therapy over nutrition. Chemical therapy over nutrition. There's a difference. When you get a headache, your body's not telling you that it's deficient in Tylenol. When you get a headache, your body's not telling you you're deficient in Advil or Motrin or ibuprofen. When you get a headache, when you get pains, when something is going on, your body is saying, look, I lack something, I need it. He continues. It says, it's a substitution of artificial therapy over natural, of poisons over food, in which we are feeding people poison and trying to correct the reactions of starvation. If you think about it that way, when you're ill, your body is craving something. It's trying to heal itself. This is a principle found in the book Ministry of Healing. Notice what the author says over 100 years ago, even before quoting Dr. Royal Lee. People need to be taught, this is from Ministry of Healing, page 125. People need to be taught that drugs do not cure disease. It is true that they sometimes afford present relief, and the patient appears to recover as a result of their use. This is because nature has sufficient vital force to expel the poison and to correct the conditions that cause the disease. Health is recovered in spite of the drug, but in most cases, the drug only changes the form and the location of the disease. Often the effect of the poison seems to overcome for a time, but the results remain in the system and work great harm at some later period. This is not talking about emergency situations. This is talking about regular customization of therapies that are not in line with food-based products. For those that have been here for this whole series, you understand that when I give some conditions, I also offer the nutritional supplementation that can help with that. I'm not prescribing it for you. If you would like physicians to see, I can give you some references. Notice what it says here about sugar, calcium, and immunity. It says the overconsumption of sugar and refined carbohydrates is detrimental to the immune system health. Is that a surprise to anybody here? We kind of know that, right? The overconsumption of sugar and refined carbohydrates is detrimental to immune health. Dr. Royal Lee has emphasized that sugar and all of its chemical cousins depletes the body of reserves of available calcium. We tell our son a lot, look, if you have too much sugar, he's going to get, what do we tell him, Donna? Jonah, if you eat too much sugar, you're going to get what? You're going to get sick, right? So you say, Jonah, and he knows now. He goes, no, I can't have too much sugar. I'm going to get sick. Notice what happens. It destroys the vital bicarbonate of calcium, our protector against viruses. Calcium, protector against viruses. Calcium, protector against viruses. Oh, this one's going to hurt. It's going to hurt us. Candy, all white sugar or its products, and white flour, including its products such as macaroni. No, not macaroni, spaghetti, crackers, etc., should be absolutely barred from the diet of the child. All of these energy-producing foods that contain no building materials for the body. All these are energy-producing foods that contain no building materials for the body. Now, the reason why I'm giving this information, that hopefully we can make small decisions headed in a hopefully healthful direction. I'm not saying that you should go to your cupboard and grab everything and throw it away in the immediate. For those that have been coming maybe the first night, you're watching for the very first time, this is a journey that has been in my life for 20 years. So it's easier for me to make these transitions. This is the stuff that I knew about. For those that are listening to this for the very first time, I'm not condemning you. I'm just saying that there's a better way to eat, there's a better way to live so that we can enjoy life. Does that make sense? Hopefully we can make better food choices. Hopefully we're headed in a better direction. So controlling a fever. How many of you have heard that a fever is a bad thing? You need to bring it down, you need to bring it down, you need to bring it down. Don't raise your hand. I'm not going to call anybody out. Did you know that a fever was a good thing? A fever is a good thing. A fever is a good thing. So how do you control a fever? Notice what Dr. Royal Lee said. You will never die from an infection until all the vitamin C is gone from the bloodstream. You will never die from an infection until all the vitamin C is gone from the bloodstream. We don't produce vitamin C. How many of you have pets or have had pets that you allow into the home? Have they ever drank from the toilet? They don't drink from the toilet? Have yours, Heather? Nikki? Your dogs, they never drink from the toilet? Your does? Okay. You know why they never get sick? Their bodies produce vitamin C. Their bodies always have vitamin C, so they can do anything and everything, right? Don't go kissing your dogs and your cats. We talked about parasites months ago. You will never die from vitamin C. You'll never die from an infection until all the vitamin C is gone from the bloodstream. When my son is sick, we give him calcium. When my son has a fever, we give him plant-based calcium. I have a product towards the back that shows us the calcium, that will let you know what kind of calcium we use. Now notice this about a fever. A fever will never get out of control until all the calcium and magnesium is gone from the bloodstream. A fever will never get out of control until all the calcium and magnesium is gone from the bloodstream. The reason why doctors don't know this is because doctors in medical school get no nutritional information. This is what all the physicians have said to me. There's no training in nutrition. No training in nutrition for the physician at medical school. None. Zero. If you're running a fever of 106, 107 Fahrenheit, you have run out of minerals. You have run out of calcium. So what I do is, once our son gets sick, we put him on calcium, we put him on a vitamin C right away. Here you go. In fact, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, we give them things like this. A fever is a good thing. That's how the body fights infection. Nourish the body and let the fever and the body fight the infection. Let the body fight the infection. Controlling a fever. This is what I recommend. This is what we give to our son. This is something called C-CalMag. It's the vegetable grade calcium. I have a sample of it in the back. Not a sample for you to take, just a sample of it for you to see what it looks like. Now I'm going to transition to something maybe a little bit more controversial. For those that have been around for quite some time, you may recognize these headlines. Maybe you've seen this in Time magazine. Same fear, different year. Same fear, different year. 2003, SARS, bird flu, death threat, H1N1, 2009. Now, I'm one who believes that COVID is very real. But I do believe in natural remedies that can help alleviate some of the COVID symptoms. We had it, my wife and I had it. We were sick this past season as well. Now, I'm going to share with you a report that's not widely circulated by the Centers of Disease Control. Reports of COVID vaccine injuries pass 1 million mark. FDA signs off on Pfizer boosters for kids 12 and up. VAERS, that's data released Friday by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, included a total of over 1 million reports of adverse events from all age groups regarding COVID vaccines. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention on December 31st released new data showing a total of over 1 million adverse events. The data included a total of 21,000 reports of deaths, 162,500 reports of serious injuries, including foreign reports. These were reported in the U.S. between December 14th, 2020 and December 24th, 2021. These are not my sources. I didn't say it. They said it. This is not Lou's conspiracy theory stuff. This is what they give you. I'm just the messenger. You can shoot the messenger. It's okay. A lot of this information is borrowed from diverse health services. This is where I used to work for 10 years. We're going to be transitioning now to a couple of patient cases and then how to, again, get through or navigate through winter. This is a very unique story. A 50-year-old male came in. I remember this guy. Patient was diagnosed with HIV. Now, when you have seen people on HIV, what do they look like? Sick? What do you mean by sick? More description. Emaciated, pale, weak, bedridden, all these things. Sores everywhere. He's on 15 medications. He's on 15 medications. The patient is diagnosed with HIV, but they gave him AIDS medication. So when he first saw us, he was like that. He was completely emaciated. I'm going to share some startling news. HIV is not AIDS. AIDS is not HIV. They're not related. HIV is not AIDS. AIDS is not HIV. So when this guy came and saw us, he was on all these medications, and we told him, you don't have AIDS, you have HIV, a dormant virus. So he began to wean himself off these medications. In a couple of months, he gained 20 pounds. For those that want to understand the verbiage underneath that, these are antiviral supplements here. Supplements that support natural immunity. Ceruta Plus is that buckwheat pill that I take, my son takes, that you take. Bio-FCTS, same thing, viral support. Lysine is to offset any viral triggers. He came back and saw us a couple months later. His doctors at the VA couldn't believe the results he was getting. He gained weight. He gained more energy at 50 years old. HIV is not AIDS. AIDS is not HIV. He was on antiviral medication. What does antiviral medication do? It terminates the synthesis of DNA. It terminates the synthesis of DNA. If your body cannot synthesize DNA, what happens to your health? You get stronger or weaker? You get weaker, eventually you will die. All these antiviral medications, keep in mind, medications do not discriminate. They go after everything, not just the virus, they go after whatever your body produces, your biology. Whereas natural things are able to discriminate. Your body knows what needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there. Natural stuff knows what needs to be in your body and what does not need to be in your body. You want to know how people get AIDS? The overwhelming majority? Callan, cover your ears. Sex through the back door. Having relations through the back door makes someone bleed, and semen goes into the bloodstream. That's AIDS. Okay, you can remove your ears now, Kellen. Thank you. Does that make sense? I can't repeat it again. You need to rewind it after we download it on YouTube. But for some of the viewing audience, I didn't want to repeat myself. The people that have AIDS are wasting away. Semen is not supposed to be in the bloodstream. When your body sees it, it attacks it. It's not supposed to be in the bloodstream. Magic Johnson opens up on living with HIV for 30 years. How healthy does he look there? You guys know who Magic Johnson was, right? Famous basketball player, played on the Los Angeles Lakers, and now I think part owner. I know he owns a bunch of Starbucks, like 700 Starbucks or something, I think, unless he divested of it recently. Can you imagine that? 700? Is that your dream, Jana? Starbucks? That'd be my wife. So I was like, oh no, she'd be his biggest fan. Magic Johnson opens up on living with HIV for 30 years after. Look how healthy he looks. Look how plump he looks. He has HIV, but he's not on any of the medications. That's from CBSSports.com. Excuse me. The endocrine system. For the homeschooling parents, the homeschooling students, this is part of your science credit. The endocrine system is made up of glands which secrete hormones. Hormones are the body's chemical messengers. They carry information from one cell to the other. And so here you have a diagram of the endocrine system, both male and female. We're going to be focusing on the thyroid today regarding winter. Hypothyroid symptoms, that is low active thyroid. Here are some of the symptoms. If you have a low active thyroid, you may have an increase in weight. You may fatigue really easily. Sleepy during the day, dry or scaly skin, mental sluggishness, headaches upon rising, frequent urination, reduced initiative, decreased appetite, ringing in the ears, sensitive to cold, which we'll talk about even more, constipation, hair is coarse or falls out. You may have a slow pulse, even below 65, and you may have impaired hearing. Did you hear what I just said? How many of you guys didn't hear this? If you didn't, you may have hypothyroid. Hypothyroid symptoms, those are the symptoms. So what do you do for that? Again, navigating through winter. For many, the thyroid slows down in the winter. Many of you are just fine in the summer. How many of you have more energy in the summer? It's warmer, right? I do. I'm not so sluggish in the winter. It could be because you have a hypothyroid. The thyroid controls your metabolism. It controls how your body's cells use energy for food. Thyroid controls metabolism. You ever hear anybody say, because of some people that may not handle weight properly, they say, well, I have an underactive thyroid. And so they need to go on quality meds or supplementation. Here are some of the supplements that I could recommend. For underactive thyroid, on the left, Thytrophin PMG, and I'll show you pictures of them in just a moment. Cataplex F tablets, Thyroid Complex, and GTA Forte 2. These are what the products look like. Thytrophin, again, to support hypothyroidism. Thyroid Complex, which is herbal, GTA Forte 2, you can read the ingredients there, and Cataplex F tablets. If you're someone that needs to get more energy or to awaken that thyroid, you can choose one of those products and go from there. Now, how can you test your thyroid? How many of you guys have heard of the Barnes thyroid test? Anybody? Okay. I'm going to share with you how to do the Barnes thyroid test. It's a simple test that covers hidden hypothyroid. You take your temperature for 5 consecutive days in the morning. 5 consecutive days. When you get up, as you're doing your devotion, stick your thermometer underneath your armpit while you're doing your morning readings. You can stay in your bed. Do it for 10 minutes, and then look at the reading for 10 minutes. Do this for 5 days straight and look at your average. A normal under the armpit when you get up in the morning, temperature is 97.8 through 98.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything below that, you could have an underactive thyroid. This is something you can do at home. Does this make sense? 5 days, check the temperature underneath your armpit before you get up, before you do anything, before in your bed, and then write it down for just 5 days straight. and look at the average. Find out where the average is. You just place that on a sheet, and then that will tell you if you have an underactive thyroid. Now, iodine. A lack of iodine and ingesting fluoride shuts down the thyroid. Iodine is good for you. Fluoride, not good. A lack of iodine and fluoride shuts down the thyroid. The Midwest is notoriously deficient in iodine, a necessary element for a healthy thyroid. Fluoride in the water and no iodine will kill your thyroid. Fluoride will kill your thyroid. Lack of iodine will kill your thyroid. This is the iodine patch test. I'll show you in just a few moments, or after we complete the iodine that I used I took this test. I went to a pharmacy and I purchased a tincture of iodine. And so before I went to bed, I put on my forearm a patch, a 3x3 patch of that iodine. It's that orange iodine. It's like $6 or $7 from Walgreens. And so I did it right before I went to bed, and then when I got up in the morning, I'll show you my forearm in just a few moments. This is the tincture that I got from Walgreens. This is the iodine insufficiency test. Do you guys see how my forearm is orange? That's a 3x3, right? You know what it looked like in the morning? It was all gone. My body had absorbed all of this iodine, which meant I'm deficient in iodine. And so now you're thinking, for those that know me, oh, that explains it. That's why he is the way he is. Right? That's why. This is a very easy test. It's just an overnight test. No color in the morning upon rising. You note the color and check off that follows. If there's no color left at all, that means on your skin, that means the test is complete. I am iodine deficient. If it's a grayish color or pale yellow, or if it's still bright yellow orange, that means you have iodine in your body. That means your body's not going to absorb the iodine. Do you understand the test? I put it on there. There's no iodine the next day on my forearm. That means my body absorbed all that iodine that was on my forearm, which means I was iodine deficient. This is something very easy to do at home. I have some of it here if you'd like to see what it looks like. So this means I need to supplement, especially in the winter, on iodine. Is this making sense, yes or no? If not, you can rewatch it on YouTube. Okay, thank you for the head nod, thank you. Warm up for winter. This is probably most of you, especially ladies out there with your normal cycles. You lose a lot of blood, obviously, during your cycles. And so if you want to warm up for winter, this is what you do. If you have some of these symptoms, if you're always cold, sometimes the extremities are cold, your toes and your fingers are cold, it could be a sign of anemia. Get some blood work done, see what the blood work says. If you have some of these symptoms, if you're always cold, if you're frequent sighing and yawning, if you're pale in complexion, if you have dark circles under your eyes, you could be anemic. Iron builds your blood. Chlorophyll builds your blood. And so the corresponding supplementation, this anemia protocol, will suffice. You can do 1 hematic formula, AM or PM, along with either 3 chlorophyll pearls to build up your blood, that's blood builder, or chlorocaps, which is a comparable, more budget-friendly chlorophyll supplement, along with a B12 lozenge per day. Now for those, I know there's some eager people that really want to get healthy, and you may not have it in your budget. What we try to do at the house is we take our daily protocol each and every day. If we get sick, we have those things there, but I try and work on 1 or 2 things every 3 or 4 months. That way I'm not saying, hey, I need to do everything all at once. Like right now for the winter, I need to be getting on this warm protocol, the iodine and the anemia protocol. Once winter begins, you may want to do that, I should say, late fall of this year. If you want to get it right now, by all means, get it right now and stay on it for a couple of months. This is very safe to take. These are food-grade products. Again, this is the anemia protocol. You would take the hematic formula by Food Research and either the chlorocaps or the chlorophyll complex. Those are blood builders. And also, if you want to include the B12 2000 lozenge, has a very, very sweet taste. You'll enjoy it, and so will your children. We cover that. You guys understand anemia now? All right? Pretty basic stuff. All right. 43-year-old female. Patient collapsed and was paralyzed from the waist down for 3 months. Numbness in the right leg and foot. Recently started to walk again without a cane. This happened a year ago, November 23, 2004. She saw us when I worked there, November 16, 2005. When she came in, she had a limp like this. She couldn't walk right for a whole year. Right? The doctors were baffled. They didn't know why this was happening. Some called it a stroke. Some didn't know. For a whole year, she was like this until she saw us. And the interesting thing is, when you take a look at the list of the medications she is on, to the physician I worked for, obviously, I'm learning it through him, it was obvious what had happened. He had checked her for a stroke. It wasn't a stroke. Nothing in the carotid arteries were blocked or anything like that. But he looked at one of her medications. One of the medications there were Depo-Provera. For those that don't know what Depo-Provera is, what is it used for, ladies? Birth control. She was receiving these shots, and one of the side effects for the shots is clotting. In fact, a lot of the side effects for birth control is clotting. You can get clots anywhere. Keep that in mind. There's natural things to do. If you have tough time managing your cycles, there's other things that you can do to manage your cycles besides birth control. There's other things you can do. So what we did was we put her on a couple of products to dissolve some of those clots. This product called Bromelain Plus CLA and Ceruta Plus. And we used something to build up her spinal cord, the Cataplex being a tuna oil, to build up the spinal cord so that she could be able to walk again. And so in 2 days, her limp was gone. She was able to walk again. Those two things, that's a very high dosage. Again, food-grade products, Bromelain Plus CLA and Ceruta Plus, to dissolve the clot. I just want to share with you what I'm doing right now is this product called Bromelain Plus CLA, 3 of those per day, to kind of dissolve any plaque or any clotting in my body. I do this regularly. The product is relatively cheap. Maybe when we get together next time, I'll show you how you can do an artery cleanse to dissolve some of those things from your body to minimize the risk for heart attack or stroke. But this is what she was on. She was on also fish oil and a product called Cataplex B to restore her nerves. By the way, this is in the literature. Depo-Provera is it's a side effect. They know about it. This is not something that's not known. All right, so what are we going to do to get through flu season, COVID season, whatever season you want to talk about? You want to stay on the C complex, which is a vitamin C or Cataplex C. Either of those products. There's a C complex, which is from a brand called Food Research, or there's Cataplex C from Standard Process. There's also Biodemulsion, which I have a sample. If you'd like to see what it looks like, it's back there on our welcome table. And then there's something you can do on a regular basis called Astragalus Complex. Now, if you're someone that likes to garden, you like to grow your own stuff, I would encourage you to do so and understand how you can maximize the qualities of the plant, the herbal supplement, within your intake. There's tinctures you can do to help your health. I know this past season, many of us here in our community there were many who got sick, and those that got sick were saying it lingered for a long, long time. I know when we spoke, I've never had sinus drainage as long as I have, since Christmas. It is now early February. And so what happened when I got sick is we ran out of a lot of this stuff, but eventually we bit the bullet and we got all our stuff. But we are alive and we are ticking. For those that may be watching for the very first time, get on some quality products. There's a difference between your typical health food store supplementation, which is a lot of fillers, versus food-grade, professional-grade supplementation. I'm not going to get into all the details about that, but know that whole food supplementation has to come from food, not parts of the food. Most of the stuff on the market, 90 to 95% of it, are synthetics or fillers. You're going to be paying extra for the good stuff, but the good stuff is going to work even more. Did you like this presentation so far? Next week, we have one more presentation that we'll be covering for this edition of Health and Healing. Again, I'm Lou Alfalah. I am your presenter for Health and Healing. Glad you could join us once